Welcome back. You're still watching Network Africa right here on Channels Television. We're still looking at the Burundi elections, and here's a quick reminder of what's happening. The elections are still taking place in Burundi, especially in the capital, Bujumbura. The president has also been to his village. He cycled to the village to go cast his vote. And we're joined by Mr. Warwick Onyema, who is an African news analyst. He's been closely monitoring the events unfolding in Burundi all the way from London. Mr. Onyema, thank you very much for your time again on the program.
You're welcome.
Now, things seem to be going exactly the way you predicted they would in terms of violence happening in parts. What exactly are your thoughts on what's happened today?
Well, as you rightly say, this was entirely predictable. Basically, the intervention by Museveni of Uganda to...
And then later on, he'll go to visit a local university, namely Kenyatta University. Then before, the University of Nairobi leadership, student leadership had requested and actually offered at one time that the president should visit the university, but unfortunately, it was decided that he would go to visit Kenyatta University. Yeah, so that's what is in draft as his program while here in Kenya. We don't know where he will be spending the night. I think that's it's a tight-lipped information. I think only private to the security detail and such. But yeah, that's what he is expected to do. Maybe not in the order I've given, but he will be able to address all that.
Well,
yeah.
And you've really given us a lot. Thank you very much for your updates. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you. And Kyoko, the program manager for KCPF, talking to us from Nairobi. Now to security matters. Yesterday, we did bring you news concerning a hostage situation that was done by the Islamic State. We told you about 3 Christians who were kidnapped in Libya, and their nationalities are Nigerian, Egyptian, and Ghanaian. The kidnapping took place in Nuflia, an Islamic State stronghold southeast of the city of Sirte. And the militant group has expanded in the North African country by exploiting chaos and a security vacuum like it did in Iraq and Syria. Members of the group confirmed the information and went the extra mile by publishing their passport pictures. That's the pictures of the victims who were kidnapped.
Rebels as well as Islamic State.
Well, for more on what could be done to salvage this situation, we're joined by the Voice of America's Jeffery Young, who is a security and terrorism expert from Washington, D.C. Jeffrey, thank you very much for your time on the program.
It's a pleasure to join you, as always.
And it's a pleasure to have you, as always. Now, when these abductions happen, is there any other motive besides money?
Clearly, abduction and violence are tools of intimidation. African Christians are a minority in parts of the continent, especially Saharan Africa. These people get singled out for their faith, and they get attacked, kidnapped, and even killed. It's more than money, it's hatred.
Okay, now, what advice would you give to the governments of those who were abducted in this particular situation, even though they were probably illegal migrants in Libya?
Well, here's an idea. You know, it might be productive for the governments of these originating countries where the Christians are coming from to do what Mexico did and run a public campaign advising people of the dangers of migration and of abduction. Mexico's campaign has been credited with saving lives by making people think twice before enduring the dangers of traveling through a barren desert with no water and no resources. Just an example, but if you inform people ahead of time that there are dangers ahead, maybe they'll think twice.
But what other tools could be used? Because sometimes these people do know that they might be heading for danger, but, you know, they wade between the devil and the deep blue sea and still opt to try out anyway. So what other methods could be used to dissuade them from making these travels?
Well, you know, when people feel desperate and they feel like that they have nothing at home to stay for, to live for, they do migrate in search of safety, of work, of a better life. I understand that you cannot blame people for wanting that. We all want a safe, decent, productive life. Fortunately, there are NGOs such as the International Organization for Migration. There are many of them who are working hard trying to help these people as they move from home northward to Libya and then across the Mediterranean to Europe. Beefing up these NGOs, assisting these NGOs as much as possible has to be part of the answer. People are going to migrate, so you need to assist them. And if the host countries, if the home countries are not fully capable of helping, that's where the NGOs step in, and they have. And the job they've done has been incredible.
Well, just before I let you go, Jeffrey, the Islamic State still seems to be one step ahead despite the U.S.-led coalition. Do you think the answer lies in what the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said in terms of de-glamorizing extremism?
You know, we must combat violent extremism with every tool available, especially social media, which attracts and recruits these young would-be jihadis. You know, despite the Islamic State propaganda, there is no glory in jihad. No, there's only death. Perhaps social media and other communications vehicles need to be flooded with horrible images of what happens to some of these people. Another tactic would be to take messages put out by the Islamic State and others and counter them with the facts, with the truth. You have to use psychology to address extremism. The Islamic State is using psychology to recruit people, so this is fighting fire with fire.
Well said. Jeffery Young, thank you very much for your time. We're very grateful for your input. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
The Voice of America's Jeffery Young speaking to us from Washington, D.C. And you've also been speaking to us on social media. Here is our tweet of the day. Yesterday we asked you about your thoughts on how things would play out in the Burundi elections. And the top tweet of the day is coming from David Arugundade, and he says, "We don't need a rocket scientist to tell us that Burundi will not experience credible, free and fair elections." We'd like to say a big thank you for your feedback. Please keep them coming. And on that note, here is our question of the day. What are your thoughts on President Pierre Nkurunziza's cycling to his village to vote for himself? Feel free to send us your feedback either via email or Twitter. The address and handle are right there on your screen. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching Network Africa on Channels Television. I'm Cynthia Are.